We're going to a heat pump party.
What's a heat pump party?
Not very many people know what a heat pump is. A bunch of neighbors are gathering to learn the challenges, to extol the virtues, basically understand why heat pumps are so important in this day and age. All right, I'm going to park this truck now.
Hi, I want to say welcome and thank you to all you lovely heating and cooling enthusiasts who have gathered here to learn about the wonder that is the heat pump. The second heat pump party on Montrose Avenue. What is a heat pump party? It's like a Tupperware party, but adapted to embrace modern machinery. We know that the way people make these decisions is by talking to their neighbors, learning about whether they like the machines they've installed in their homes. And so I think one of the best ways to get to know the technology and see that it's not a scary thing at all, it's a beautiful machine that heats and cools your house and is 3 to 5 times as efficient as your furnace and saves you a ton of money and doesn't burn fossil fuels, is to see the heat pumps in action. And so I have a hybrid unit, and my wonderful neighbor Katie across the street has a cold climate, which are the two basic kinds. Who doesn't have one here? Who knows what a heat pump is? You have one.
Oh, sorry. I asked about a heat pump a year ago when I had somebody come to service my air conditioner. When you tell someone that you would like a pump, that requires like immediate explanation. It was a very awkward exchange. Anyway, I asked about this heat pump. I was immediately told not to get one because, and anyway, so I'm here out of, like sadness, but I don't know how it works. It hasn't ever totally made sense to me. I feel like there's heat that comes up from the ground.
That's geothermal, but very, very good. And you should not feel guilty.
Start.
You should not feel guilty. The reason we have these parties is because, like, this is the thing. We have, a status quo of a certain type of machinery that gets installed, and if you don't know, like, you trust experts. When you go to the dentist, you ask them what you need, and they tell you, you have a cavity and I will fill it. When you go to a contractor or an HVAC person, they're going to tell you this is the best technology on the market, and I would hazard a guess that most of us here are not heat pump experts. So if someone who's been doing this for 30 years tells you you should do this, you're like, okay, fine, do that thing. And they say it's high efficient because it is. Like, a high efficiency gas furnace is still better than a low efficiency gas furnace. So I think I've also done things like this and been like, oh, I'm locking in, I've locked in this pollution for another 20 years and inhibited myself from the cost savings. But every time we have these conversations, we open people up to this so they will make the right decisions going forward. A heat pump is basically just a mechanism by which we pull the heat from the outside and use it to warm our house when it's cold out. Just imagine a gnome carrying the heat in and then carrying it. And I was like, that's like a very lovely visual, and I'll just imagine gnomes carrying, but that's all it is.
Heat pumps, let's expand on how they work. Heat is just air molecules bouncing around. Even in minus 460 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 238 degrees Celsius, heat molecules do exist. So how this works? A heat pump is a single appliance that can replace both a traditional air conditioner and a home heating system like a gas furnace or a boiler. As Sarah mentioned, heat pumps move heat. In the winter, it moves heat from outside your home to inside your home, making it warmer inside. And in the summer, it moves heat from inside to outside, cooling your house down.
So Sarah asked earlier who here does not have a heat pump, and it's kind of a trick question because all of you have at least one heat pump, probably 3 in your home. Really? So your fridge has a heat pump in it, and your freezer has a heat pump. That's how they work. So heat pumps have been around as long as we've had air conditioning and fridges, basically. It's all the same technology. Really we think about it as cooling our food, and that's of course the end result, but what it's really doing is it's taking the heat inside the fridge and it's pumping it out the back. And your freezer is doing the same thing. So you think like, well, how can a heat pump be, heating my house when it's minus 5 degrees? Your freezer is minus 18 degrees, and it is still, the heat pump is taking the heat inside that minus 18 degree compartment, and it's pumping it out the back. So you got a heat pump recently,
I
right?
got a heat pump.
You put in a cold climate heat pump, correct?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, we're very excited about it.
I did join the heat pump revolution.
How's the heat pump working out for you?
It is fantastic in every way.
Great. What kind of heat pump did you get?
I got a Move Air 2-ton cold climate heat pump.
Great. And how's that working for you?
You know what? It's working out really well.
Yep.
There definitely is a little bit of an education curve, but I'm happily on it.
How's it working out for you?
It's great. This was like 4 years ago, and at that point there was, I mean, you're sort of hearing about heat pumps all the time right now, but I was into heat pumps before anyone was into heat pumps. Not before you were into heat pumps.
Trendsetter.
But,
No, it's good. I know we've had a bit of a mild winter, but it's heating your home okay?
Yeah, and that's remarkable considering this house was built in 1910, and we've done some weatherization, but like not nearly enough. So, pretty impressed with it.
My mission, my challenge, the challenge I set myself was to get the biggest emissions reducing bang for my buck, sort of to do the most impact for the least amount of money. And so I did need a new air conditioner. So that was, I had like a 1,000-year-old climate crime in my backyard. I found it really difficult to find information about air source heat pumps, and I got really, I'm not a sciencey person, and so I was really proud of myself for kind of digging in, and I went to TRCA websites and city websites, and I took webinars and stuff like that, but it was tough. But I eventually came to feel that the ducted hybrid was the way to go for us. I like it. I mean, I love my hybrid, but I did hope that it would go a little bit lower.
I see.
That it would be able to heat for a little bit lower temperatures.
So you know the heat pump heats most of the time, but then when it gets really cold, you got to switch over to the gas furnace. Around what temperature approximately do you switch over?
Well, when I was researching it, I got such a wide variety of estimates of what the capacity of the machine was. Some people said, oh, you'll never get below 0.
Right.
And some people were like, oh, you could get -10. And so I was like, oh, maybe I could get -7.
Right.
But it turns out it's about -3.
Okay.
Or it was about -3 for a year, but then I've done some tweaks on my thermostat.
Okay.
So at first, I can't believe I like talking about things like this, but I do. I'm obsessed.
Everyone needs a hobby.
All right, air source heat pumps. Who knew?
You know, it's funny that you say that the people talked about the different equipment and at what point they change over. And this is something I think a lot of people miss is they talk about the equipment a lot, but there's the other side of it is the house, right? So it's like, it's all about how insulated your house is. So you can have the best equipment possible, but if your house is really leaky, you're still gonna have to switch over to backup heating source. But if your house is really, really well insulated, then a more modest piece of equipment will do. So, you know, even if you got the hybrid and you still have the gas furnace, you could still do a lot in your home to tighten it up, and then exactly.
Gosh, there is a lot of information that people need to be getting to. So thank you, Sarah, for having this Tupperware heat pump party.
It's a lot of info for sure, and it's confusing, right? There's a lot of like stuff. Typically, a home, if you think about a home, over a course of a year will consume, let's say, 100 units of energy.
Right.
60 of those units will be for space heating, 20 will be for hot water, and then 20 will be for lighting and appliances. So space heating is like the biggest one by far. It's over half. And that's why like heat pumps are really important if you want to, you know, lower your utility bills or you want to reduce your greenhouse gases. That's where heat pumps are really important. And then next, it's hot water.
That sounds so logical and also really economical. And so my question is like, why, where is the heat pump lobby?
The HVAC business is not a big margin business. Yeah. It's a tough business. I think a lot of the contractors, you know, they're used to putting in furnaces. They're, you know, comfortable doing it. They're
good at it.
They're good at it, exactly. And they know that, you know, they're gonna put it in, it's gonna work.
Yep.
the heating's gonna be reliable, they're not gonna get any service calls, and that's the business, right? Like if you go to Texas, it's all heat pumps, right?
It is?
Oh yeah, yeah. People don't have gas furnaces in Texas. It's really the technology that makes sense, right? Like here, we've got extensive gas infrastructure. It's very reliable. It's been very inexpensive. And so gas has been a really good, gas furnaces have served us very well in Ontario and in Canada for a long time. And now as people become more concerned about the environment and as, the carbon price keeps increasing, it's starting to have, things are switching a little bit and people are more interested in heat pumps. And people can save money if they have a heat pump that's sized properly, if their home is well insulated. I think things are starting to switch, and we've seen that in the last couple of years where heat pump sales are starting to outgrow gas furnace sales and air conditioner sales. And that's really what we need to see more of is more, especially air conditioners. Like if, really we shouldn't have any new air conditioner sales. It should at least be a heat pump being put in instead of air conditioners. Any savings on the, yeah?
God, yes. Yes, I save over $100 a month.
Wow.
Because I'm completely off of gas now. So I have an electric water tank, which has a timer that only heats my water during the cheapest times of the day. And, the heat in my house is generated by a heat pump. So I pay less for electricity now than I paid for only gas when I had a furnace.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
A hybrid unit costs so much less than a cold climate, and obviously my next unit will be a cold climate. But for now, getting this hybrid has been great because better AC and basically heats my house most of the year, except for a couple days when it happens to get cold. But those days are fewer and fewer.
Yeah, no, I love the hybrid option, and we recommend that for a lot of homeowners, especially when someone's air conditioner is getting old and they're thinking about replacing it, but their furnace, like in your situation where your furnace is not
that old,
it's not time to replace it yet, right? Yeah. And so if your furnace is not end of life, but your air conditioner is, you put in a heat pump to replace the air conditioner, and as you said, right, you've got the heat pump is heating your home comfortably most of the year, and then you've got that reliable gas backup when it gets really cold, right? When the polar vortex comes,
yes,
it's there.
You're not worried.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's great. And have you noticed a reduction in gas use and greenhouse gases?
I very much have.
Yeah.
The first year, our gas usage went down by about 75 to 80%, which is kind of
incredible.
Yeah. So to the point of perfect enemy of the good. Like you can't really. I can use paper straws my whole life, and then to see that, I was like. Right. I mean, still, paper straws are lovely, but like you see that and you really feel like, hey, I've done something meaningful to bring down my emissions.
Right. Yeah. No, that's great. Any impact on your utility bills at all?
Definitely a huge reduction in my gas bill, especially because I only use it in those cold months, so it's basically nil. And our electricity bill is remarkably not so high considering, I hear the pump running all the time, so I was wondering, what those costs would look like.
Do you have an idea of how much you may have saved with your hybrid system?
Well, I also got, the following year, I got an electric water heater. Okay. So I would say, in combination with the air source heat pump and the getting off gas for water heating, I have reduced my greenhouse gas emissions from heating by 60%.
Oh, wow.
Which is amazing.
That's great. Fantastic.
Yeah. Which is, as I like to point out, the City of Toronto's 2030 target is 60%, I believe.
You're doing your part.
I already did it.
Fantastic.
Air source heat pumps!
How do I get my landlord to inquire about one if I wanted her to get one?
So I think you have to start with what the current equipment is in the home. So like how old is the current equipment, right? So if you've got an air conditioner that is more than 12, 13 years old and it's almost, getting time to replace that piece of equipment, that's a really good time to start that conversation.
Start talking about thermal comfort and how nice it is to have like consistent airflow. And if they do care about climate, you can be like, hey, you know, this is going to bring down your building's emissions considerably. You should consider it. And so I always think about like, you know, what are the different factors that would motivate them? Probably for a landlord, it's going to be cost. Luckily, the equipment is coming down a ton and there are new incentives available. So even just being like, hey, did you know there are like incentives available to you to do this and to make your equipment and make your costs a lot cheaper, and you should avail yourself of this, you know, but $1 bajillion rebate from the government in order to do this. So that kind of stuff.
Do you see this moving to apartment buildings?
Oh, it's already happening in apartment buildings.
It is.
Yeah, if you want to future-proof your business and your building, then you should be heat pumping it up.
Heat pump it up.
So if I switch, like my unit's not that old now, but if I switch, I've got all this forced air gas infrastructure and ducts and whatnot. Do I have to refit some other kind of infrastructure for a heat pump?
No, you don't. So you can use the existing ductwork. So like this home that we're in right now, for example, right? So there is a gas furnace, and Sarah had an air conditioner, and we lifted out the old air conditioner and we put in a heat pump, and it works in, we call it a hybrid or dual heating system, where the heat pump can handle heating the home most of the year. It cools the home just like an air conditioner would, but then when it gets really, really cold, the gas furnace comes on. And then you've got that gas heating.
So you would hang off, you'd have to have some sort of backup heating.
You'd have some sort of backup. So,
You can't.
so Karen, I mean, like, yeah, if you've got a cold climate heat pump, then typically you'd put in an electric backup. So
Okay.
you'd still have kind of a furnace or like an air handler, but it'd be electric, and you wouldn't have gas supplied to it.
Yeah.
And then there'd be like backup electric coils that would come on as when it gets really cold.
Right.
Why doesn't the government make it so that they have to if they're retrofitting homes? And if they're in the new builds?
Excellent.
It just seems like a no-brainer.
I mean, politically, people don't like bans and it really rubs them the wrong way. But how can you just say, but instead, can you do like what they've done in the eastern provinces where, you know, or you know, just incentivize the heck out of it? $12,000 off a heat pump, you're going to get a heat pump.
Yeah.
Well, we did it here, and
But didn't it just end?
So the Greener Homes Grant ended, yeah.
So-
It was oversubscribed, right? The money went out the door quicker than they had anticipated, so they terminated the program.
But there's another option for some people,
There'll
right?
be another program that's geared towards lower and middle income residents. There still is a program now where you can get an interest-free loan. So you can get up to $40,000 interest-free. So it's a repayable loan over 10 years. And that's, you can use that for insulation or doors and windows or heat pumps or tankless water heaters or solar as well.
So I just recently bought a heat pump system. It's being installed like today, starting today. And my experience was when I was talking to contractors, they kind of made it sound like it was a premium like product, like that I was buying a Tesla, not a Toyota. And I'm a Toyota kind of person, and I needed to supplement my existing system. So I figured like this is like the right time to do it, and at least like it's kind of like a transition to non-gas kind of system, but this is my first step in like a longer journey, I guess.
Because you're putting in a ductless system.
Yeah, I'm putting on the top 2 floors will be the heat pump for hot and cold, and then the traditional furnace will I guess do the bottom, the basement, and the first floor, and then like hopefully I can reduce the usage and of that, and it'll just I'll have a more balanced kind of system. So, but I guess everybody has a unique situation with their heating and cooling situation.
Yeah, and we see that a lot with homes, especially older homes, where the 3rd floor especially gets really hot in the summer and really cold in the winter. And that's where a ductless system can really help as like to complement your ductwork in the home. So that's something that yeah, we recommend. To your point earlier about, the premium product, there's no, it definitely true. They come with a premium price. Like there's a higher capital cost associated with heat pumps versus kind of your furnace, and so I think the rebates were really good in helping to overcome that and bringing the capital cost down. I think what we find is that especially with a hybrid system, they should pay back over the lifetime of the equipment. So that definitely is something that, it all depends. Where do electricity prices go? Where do gas prices go? Where does the carbon price go? But if you make some reasonable assumptions, it should pay for itself over the lifetime of the equipment.
I was really excited about being part of the heat pump lobby, and I'm seeing the trouble ahead of us here. So in order to put a heat pump into my home, I would also have to have some kind of backup. So now I also have to have an electrical backup, possibly, unless I have the cold.
The cold climate is kind of built into it.
Yeah, it's built in. Yeah. I have a cold climate heat pump, and the backup system is built in.
So then shouldn't that just be the one that we talk about in Canada, full stop? Why isn't the unit that everybody gets just as a rule the cold climate heat pump?
I typically don't recommend a cold climate option for people who have a really leaky home. And that's where I think it makes more sense to have a hybrid heating where you've got both gas and a heat pump. So you've got your gas furnace as your backup. And that's just because if you've got a really leaky home, you're gonna be relying on that backup electric heat quite a bit. And you will see an increase in your electricity bill. That's gonna impact a lot of people, right? And so I find the hybrid is a better solution so it really depends on who I'm speaking to, what's going on in their home, what's their existing, what does their existing ductwork look like. So there's a number of factors, and that's really where, I speak to each homeowner, what's their situation. You've got to send an experienced tradesperson out there to evaluate the home, look at what the options are, and then come up with some options and a solution that works for that homeowner.
Everything electric is getting better and better every second. So, your cold climate of 2 years ago is not going to be your cold climate of 2 years from now. So instead of the decision point being the best heating for the coldest day, it's going to be really uncomfortable to not have AC. If instead of getting an AC, you can get a heat pump that also happens to heat your house for the majority of the time, except on those really cold days, that's pretty darn awesome.
I was curious about maintenance costs.
Yeah, so you should be servicing your equipment once a year. And I've got ductless heat pumps in my home, and twice a year, we clean out the filters. I check those drains and make sure that they're clear and that liquid is still draining. So if you notice that liquid isn't draining when they're working, then there's potentially a problem. So yeah, long story short, get them serviced at least once a year and then do your own maintenance.
What's this? So because it's a party and the famous Karen Robinson just celebrated a birthday, we baked a cake. Here's to Karen and her cold climate heat pump joining the many Ontarians switching to heat pumps in a race to reach our 2030 carbon reducing targets.
I think given what this party is about and the advice of our experts and those of us who are already on the heat pump journey, I think you know what my wish is.
Still got it.
Yeah.